Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bring your hands down and a very warm welcome to all of you. Honestly, I did not expect to see so many people for this topic, but I am very encouraged that there is interest in understanding yoga from its traditional perspective. Today is which day of the week? Thursday. And Thursday is a very, very special day for the yogis. Yogis means the one who practices yoga. Why? Because on this day, Thursday of the week, a yogi fondly remembers and feels grateful for the Guru or the guide. Now, why to feel thankful for the guide, the yoga guide? Why did I chant the mantra before we began? The mantra that I chanted before I started is called the Guru mantra, the mantra that is dedicated to the spiritual teacher. Why do we chant this mantra? We chant this mantra to feel grateful, thankful to the Guru or the spiritual teacher who has given us the knowledge of yoga. Why is gratitude important? Is because yoga is a spiritual tradition. This is the first word you need to remember. Spiritual tradition means what? The knowledge of yoga, or what yoga is traditionally practiced, is not something that somebody created 50 years ago or 100 years ago. It is a tradition that has been passed on for generations upon generations upon generations for thousands of years. Many of the techniques that we practice as yoga, many of the philosophies that we understand as yoga have been around for thousands of years. One of the reasons why these philosophies and techniques have been around for these thousands of years is because of the guide-student, guru-disciple tradition. Means the guide, the spiritual guide, gives the understanding to the student receives it humbly, and the student transfers that knowledge to their students responsibly. The Guru gives responsibly, the student receives humbly. These are important. Like this, the Guru gave to the student gave to their student, the student gave to their student, and a beautiful waterfall of yoga has existed across time frame of 4,000-5,000 years. Isn't it beautiful? Whatever we will discuss here in the next 2 hours has been talked about for last 4,000-5,000 years. How can I talk about it? How can these yoga teachers here teach it? Because they have received it from their teacher, and their teacher has received it from their teacher. So the first point that I want to make here is that yoga is a spiritual tradition that has existed for thousands of years. Is this clear? And that's why I like to come to this place, Yuti, because this place is like a beautiful garden that nurtures this tradition. In fact, if you see this group, there's literally, I can see there are 2-3 generations of teachers here. I have a student who has a student, and her students are also here. So we are literally 3 generations, 4 generations of students in this gathering. And they are all holding the tradition humbly, responsibly, to whatever extent they can. So the first point that I want to make in today's talk is that we all need to start looking at yoga as a spiritual tradition, as a body of knowledge that has been transferred responsibly and received humbly over generations. When a practitioner of yoga recognizes this, immediately humility will come in the practitioner. Yes or no? If I give you a shiny stone and I said, I just got it from the market down below, $2. You say, oh, thank you. You will not care for it much. Why? $2. But if I give you a shiny stone and I say, $200,000, you will not treat that stone like the way you treat the $2 stone. Yes or no? Because you recognize the value, and depending on the value of the object, you hold it responsibly. The reason why this tradition has gone on and on for last thousands of years, because each recipient has recognized the value. Every student of yoga who received the knowledge from the teacher did not take the knowledge for recreation. You understand recreation? Entertainment, for having fun. 1 hour I did yoga and then it was not a part of my life anymore. No. The student who received this knowledge recognized the value of this knowledge and protected it. Otherwise, there have been so many things, ancient, part of so many cultures around the world that are lost, isn't it? There are so many books, wisdoms, poems, dances, art, so many cultural relics that have lost with time. But yoga has not lost. Why? Because every recipient knows the value. It's like that family jewel. In Asia, we have this tradition. Family jewel. Sometimes the jewel of the family is in the family for thousands of years. For many, many generations, right? They hold that. Why I have started giving talks on history and fundamentals of yoga is because somewhere I see in the modern yogic scenario that value, that gratefulness, that responsibility is a little shaky. I would like to give an example, but it is not a proper example, but still to drive home the point I will. How many of you like to drink coffee here? So now coffee drinkers, imagine if your morning cup of coffee comes from instant Nescafe. This talk is not sponsored by Nestle, by the way. It's very easy for you. Sometimes people don't even wake up in the morning. They're like, it's sleepy, and they just mix their coffee and drink it. They don't care where the bean came from, who processed the coffee, who was the farmer, nothing. But if the same coffee person, the drinker, the consumer, had to go to the farm, plant the seed, take care of the seed with all his life, process that seed. Now what all the process requires, heating and all that, baking and what not, and then crush that bean finally to make his coffee. Won't these two experiences be completely different? It's something like that. In modern times, we have started understanding yoga as a 1 hour recreational activity. Nothing wrong in 1 hour classes. It's just about what mindset we bring in on the mat. The general perception of yoga in modern times is how, do you do yoga? Yeah, I do yoga twice a week. Other 2 days I do Zumba. I do yoga once a week. The other 2 days I go running. We all modern yoga consumers need to come out of this mindset, because yoga is something much, much bigger than 1 hour of stretching experience. And today, I will try to give you a bigger picture. Try. Because it is difficult. Talking about history of yoga is like talking about history of food. It's impossible to talk about history of food. That's why I said, I will try. Everybody okay till here? So what was the first point? Yoga is a spiritual tradition. And yoga is transferred from the teacher-student relationship. Now, what is spiritual tradition? Next question would be, okay, Prasad, yoga is spiritual tradition. What is spiritual tradition? Spiritual tradition means something that makes you understand you. Spiritual tradition means something that makes you realize who you really are, beyond the name, beyond the body, beyond the roles, beyond the relations, beyond what society thinks of you, beyond what you think of yourself. The word for spiritual in the language of yoga is adhyatma. Don't worry about the word. It literally means about that which is within. About that which is within. Now, what is within? Next question. Let's look at it very logically. What is within? Nothing is within. Within me is food that I ate in the morning. Not that. So, yoga says, the ancient scientists, we call them rishis. They were the scientists of yoga, rishis, the explorers. The rishis realized that there is one common thing in all living beings. What is that? All living beings love, happiness and peace. Yes or no? Let's forget the other living beings. Let's talk about humans, because we have only humans and bacteria here. I speak to the humans. So, is there anyone here in this house now who does not consciously want happiness and peace? No. We all want happiness and peace. But we don't have it. How many of us here can surely say, oh, I have it. I have happiness and peace. Both happiness in the morning, peace in the morning, each and every hour, each and every minute of the day, I am happy and I am peaceful. How many of you can say that confidently? That would not last, you see. Many people say, oh yeah, I was happy. I was happy in the morning. Now? Oh, I find amazing happiness in shopping. But how much can you shop? Even the malls close in the night. Unless you go online shopping at night. There are many objects of happiness. But the happiness is not permanent. So, the rishis The yogi scientists, they said, everybody wants happiness, but everybody is suffering. Yes or no? So, the yogi said, let us explore how we can find lasting happiness and peace in our life. It will be interesting for you to know that this profound wisdom of yoga has very, very humble goal. The goal of yoga is release from suffering. Understand suffering? Who doesn't understand suffering here? Very good. I am sure all of you understand suffering here. Suffering means doesn't have to be like running into the ER of the hospital kind of suffering. Suffering means bad toothache, migraine, ankle sprain, diarrhea. That too. Somebody's death, a breakup, haven't paid mortgages for last 2 months, bank calling you again and again, going on an interview, car broke down, going on a date tonight, wake up in the morning with a huge pimple on the cheek. Suffering. So the yogi scientist said, let us explore and find if there is a solution to suffering. This is literally the definition of yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, the definition of yoga is Dukkha Sanyoga Viyoga Yoga. Means yoga is detachment from suffering. So I am not making up these claims. This is all documented in the ancient scriptures. Are you understanding me? Now say, okay, now Prasad, what is this ancient scriptures? So, all these rishis and scientists, yogi scientists, whatever they discovered, they made it into two parts. Number one was the philosophy. Number one was the philosophy, and number two was the technology. Philosophy and technology. Philosophy means what? The thought behind, the thought, the idea, the concept. And technology is the techniques. Most of the things in the world are like this. For example, if you want to be a good baker, understand baker? So there is a philosophy of baking, means how to bake a cake and how to knead the dough and what temperature and all that. And then there is a technology, how to actually put it in practice. So please understand, yoga is both. There is a vast amount of philosophy that holds on to a certain idea. And then there are techniques. Are you understanding? So what is the philosophy? What is the main objective of yoga? To release the person from suffering. And then to do that, there are many, many techniques. And that is why it is important to understand yoga from its philosophy and also from its technology. If you just look at it from the techniques point of view, there will be no integrity. I am giving you both. So you understand now why we practice yoga. And when I say yoga, I am not saying postures. Okay? When I say yoga, I am saying something bigger. And what is the goal, what is the aim of my yoga? Removal of suffering. And when the suffering is gone, what comes? Happiness and peace. Simple? Yeah, sounds simple. Sounds simple. Because we are not just talking about suffering at a very physical level. My stomach hurts, I take a painkiller, next day it's gone. No. We are talking at a deeper level of suffering. So is this much clear? Yoga is release from suffering. One of the definitions. Now there are many definitions of yoga. Some definitions will talk about yoga as philosophy, and some definitions will talk about yoga from the point of view of technology. Fine.